Hello YouTube world, welcome back to the workshop. Project I want to do for you this week is this piece of ash. If you had a look at my project last week, which was the stupid stick, this was what was left over. I had a piece of ash that I cut from the main centre of the tree and it split right the way down through the pith, and this was half that was left over. So this is the other side, this will be the top, and what I do is I'll cut that off somewhere across there so it'll be equal, and then what I want to do is put my actual bowl into there somewhere and incorporate the bowl to come out there, so we'll see how big we can get taking it in there, and then when I cut that off that'll be equal either side, so I'll leave it squarish shape. This will be the bottom of my bowl. You see there's a huge great knot coming through there, but that should be on the bottom and hopefully it won't cause me too many problems and it shouldn't be seen. So the first thing I want to do is work out whereabouts my bowl needs to go in there, and then fix a faceplate and then cut that piece off there. Then I put it on the lathe and turn a tenon or recess on the back for my chuck to hold it. This is just an old piece of scrap perspex I had, and what I've done is I marked a hole in the centre and then just scratched some circles on it. You can actually buy them, I don't think they're very expensive, but that was just a old piece of perspex I had lying around. And then what I'm going to do with that is just use that for me to find, I think that's pretty much where it wants to be. So I'm lining that circle up there with that curve on the wood and trying to keep that equidistant from there to there. That big one is just a little bit too big, but I think that is quite good. So I'm going to mark that as my centre, and that's where the centre of my bowl is going to be, just so I don't lose it. And the other thing I've done, because I want to work out the edge of where my bowl comes, so what I've done is that line there is pretty much as far as I want to come out. So what I'm going to do is move that so that that line is on there, and that gives me a line there. So obviously that distance from there to there is exactly the same as that from there to there, and then I'll do the same that way, which will give me a line from there to there. So then what I need to do is just add that distance there, which is 20mm. Add onto there, 20mm. And then I just cut that off and cut that off across there, and that will give me a bowl of equal size. So here I've got the piece mounted on my lathe. I have a faceplate screwed onto the other side, that's where the bolt's going to come, and this will be the bottom of the bowl. You can see by this it's massively out of balance, so I'm not going to be able to turn my lathe up very fast, otherwise I'll be chasing it all around the workshop. You can also see on the bottom there, there was a big knot come through there. This is not really going to be seen, as what I intend to do is turn like a shallow dish in the bottom of this bowl, because what I want it to do is just sit on the 4 feet on the 4 corners, and this will try hopefully prevent it from wobbling when it's sat down on a flat surface. So I've started it now on the slowest speed I can, and I'm just turning it up slowly until it starts to vibrate, and then I'll just turn it back slightly, turn the speed down slightly, and then I'll be able to work from there. So as I say, I will turn out a small dish on the bottom, but I'll also turn a recess for my 4 jaws chuck to sit into when I turn it round to turn the bowl out on the other side. So I'm starting now just to flatten off the bottom. I want to make sure I go through with my chisel and just turn right the way across the bottom, just flatten it all off nicely, and then, as I say, I'll go through and just leave the 4 feet. What I'm doing here now is I'm just marking this. So that's the outside of my bowl. I've made one mark, and then I've made another mark where I want to come in just to leave a rim around the edge. And what I've done is I've come in with a skew chisel here just to give me a defined edge of where that wants to be. I'll now change back to a bowl gouge just to flatten that off. I'm just checking here with a straight edge, just making sure that that recess in the bottom is low enough. I don't want that standing proud, because otherwise that would wobble when it was sat on the table. Now I just mark that on my calipers, just as I cut the recess. This is the recess for my jewels to sit into. So now I'm just turning that away. So that's just ready for me to turn around when I want to hollow the bowl on the other side. So that's cut, sanded down. I've left a ridge around there for the bowl to sit on, and now I'll just put some sand sealer on there. Get that grain out of the wood. So that's the sand and sealer put on there. As you can see, there's some pretty lovely grain showing through there already. Now I haven't sanded that on the lathe because there's very little. I can only sand out to there, and then I'd end up with 2 different textures on there. So I've just sanded that with a sanding pad and the drill, and at the same time I can't buff this up with the lathe turning, and I won't be able to wax it with the lathe turning, because once I get over there with that spinning really rapidly, once I get over there, that's going to come around there, and that's going to catch my fingers, and I am quite attached to my fingers, physically and metaphorically. So we're not going to have quite the usual finish on this, certainly not on the bottom as I normally do. The sides I'm going to take off, I'm going to sand by hand once it's finished. So that's the bottom wolf done there. I can turn that around and start to hollow the bowl. So as you can see here, I've turned the piece around in the lathe. I've taken the face plate off, and what I'm doing now is I'm just marking my bowl where it wants to sit in relation to the wood. Now obviously I don't want to get too close to the edge, I don't want to take any of that away, but what I want to do is let my bowl mirror the edge of that wood where the branch was. So that, I think there, where that pencil mark is pretty much where I want to be. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to go in there with my small parting off chisel, just to give me a line so that I know exactly where I want to sit with this. So to start with, I'm just going to use my bowl gouge, and I'm just going to use some pull strokes just to clean up the outside, because that flat piece on the outside, that will actually form the rim of my bowl. So obviously it needs to be nice and flat and nice and smooth. So I think I've achieved that there, and now I can start turning the bowl. There you can see, just really using a conventional bowl gouge and just using a series of push cuts and pull cuts just to hollow the bowl. That's turned down about as far as I need to go because I couldn't get much speed on the lathe. I've got quite a rough finish inside of there, so that is going to take quite a bit of sanding. I will do that with a power drill and just get it all sanded up nice. And also this outside, I'm going to have to sand that by hand as well. Then sand the three faces. Again, that'll all have to be done by hand, and that is quite rough on there where that's been on the bandsaw, so that will take a bit of sanding. But again, I'm not going to be doing it by hand. I've got sanding machines to do that for me. So I'll get back to you once that's all been sanded down. So this is the side of the bowl with the bark still on. It has stayed on there, which was quite good. It's just moving away slightly there. I'll just put I'll put dab of super glue in there in a moment and just push that up tight so make sure it stays on. But there's really good cohesion all the way around there. So what I'm going to do, that is what they call a natural edge bowl, because you've left the natural edge of the tree on there. And this, what I'm about to do, is what they call an unnatural edge. Is what you do is you burn all of that, and it gives it a black edge, which makes it look somewhat natural. Zoom right in so you can get a good look at this. And that is as simple as it gets. So I'll do in a minute when that's cooled down. I'll just get my Dremel with a very soft brush in there and just very gently go over there and just clean it all up. So on with the sanding sealer. Some beautiful grain pattern in there. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So here we have the finished article, and because it's such an odd shape and I can't really use conventional means of polishing it or waxing it, I am going to use some of this plastic coat, which is a brilliant gloss clear sealer. I'll give the can a good shake and I'll just give this several light coats. Well, there we go, YouTubers, all finished. A natural and a natural edge. You could almost call that a round bowl and a square peg. But as you can see, there's some beautiful grain pattern on there. So we go, YouTubers, all finished. And as you can see on there, what I've tried to do is get that where we've got the natural curve of the bowl, and I've tried to get the inside of the rim of the bowl to follow it, which I think I've done quite well. I had some of the bark on, I've burnt the others. I'm quite pleased with that. I think that's turned out quite well. I did have some very good friends of mine, I've showed it to them already, and they did say it wasn't really their cup of tea. Leave some comments down the bottom see whether you like it or not. It's like my wife said, you've got to try something different. You can't keep on turning that same old stuff, otherwise we never move forward, do we? So that's it. The other thing that I would say to you is, if you have enjoyed watching this channel, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, tell me you like it. If you do subscribe, it sort of gives some validation to what I do, really, I suppose. So that's the end of another video. I've been Steve Howell, as always, and thank you very much for watching. And if you've enjoyed watching that half as much as I've enjoyed making it, we've all had a good day today. So thank you very much. Goodbye.